This is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Tuesday. This is the Woo Report. The Woo Report, episode 214. I'm your host, Sam Woo, streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are watching or listening to this fine programming. The big topic in the NHL right now is Matthew Tkachuk. Will he be moved to St. Louis? Could he be going to your New Jersey Devils? Ottawa Senators could be reunited with his brother, Brady, up north of us. I don't know. But the rumors are running rampant all over the internet, all over social media. Did St. Louis make a trade offer for Matthew Tkachuk? Did they reject it? Some say that happened. Some say it didn't. I don't know. And we're going to have a big discussion about that because we are a Devils-centric podcast, obviously. The Let's Go Devils podcast. But we'll talk a little NHL as well. But the topic tonight is, what do the Devils offer for Matthew Tkachuk? If you remember, the Johnny Gaudreau sweepstakes, unrestricted free agency, going to the 11th hour practically with the Calgary Flames and Gaudreau. Before free agent frenzy started, they basically parted ways. And that was the first domino with Matthew Tkachuk, Johnny Gaudreau fielding offers from New Jersey. Philadelphia just simply didn't have the money, which we would think that was his first destination, his preference. Lou Lamoriello and the New York Islanders making a push, clearing some cap space, giving it the good old college try. And as what was said on Spittin' Chicklets podcast, at 4 p.m., a dark horse out of nowhere, the Columbus Blue Jackets, where some players just in the past did not want to be there. Suddenly they became in contention for Johnny Gaudreau. The deal got done. The rest is history. It was also said that they were the camp of Gaudreau's were talking to New Jersey, but at that point, is what Tom Fitzgerald said, radio silence. And that's what happened. But really, the forward that the Devils should be looking at, if they're going to make a move and make a trade, is Matthew Tkachuk. He's 24 years old, a power forward, an American, a cousin of Tom Fitzgerald's somewhere along the line. Don't know how distant it is, but that's what they say. His father's Keith Tkachuk, one of my favorite players of all time. The way he played the game, that bulldog mentality, getting that puck in the net, fighting for positioning. Now that's hockey. That's hockey. But the Devils, I'm going to tell you, Devils fans, and I'm going to say this out loud, you're going to have to give up a lot to get Matthew Tkachuk. And this is something that Tom Fitzgerald is going to try probably, or at least get some dialogue of what it's going to take. Looking at the YouTube live, Eugene Hewitt says, good evening, Sam. Devils time. Facebook Live, I see Ben Stone, Mike Rossi. Happy Devils Tuesday to Mike Rossi. And could it be, we talked about this yesterday on the Woo Report, but is this the time to trade Damon Severson? I don't really want to. Jesper Bratt, once you have him signed, it's just crazy right now because Tom Fitzgerald's in the middle of putting this team together, and this happens. What's overshadowing is Vitek Vanacek signed his deal today, or it was announced today. Not bad of a deal, but it's like, oh, the 1:30 p.m. presser that the Devils put, and it's like, you're thinking about Matthew Tkachuk because all those rumors are running rampant everywhere. Online, on the internet, on social media. But it's gonna take a lot. It will take a lot to get Matthew Tkachuk. And right now, as a Devils fan, I am prepared for nothing's going to happen. Some other team's going to win the sweepstakes, and we're down in the dumps again by another Calgary Flame. Some suggestions. I want to get your suggestions. What did the Devils offer Matthew Tkachuk? I know pucksandpitchforks.com. Nick Villano, editor-in-chief of that fine site, wrote an editorial about three trades Devils could offer for Matthew Tkachuk. It was a great article. I don't want to spoil it for you. You should go to pucksandpitchforks.com and read it because, I think what Nick did was an excellent job of just kind of giving different scenarios. He's not, picking players and trying to make a prediction, but different scenarios of what the Devils could offer. Could it be draft picks? Could it be a combination of veterans and draft picks? Could it be prospects and draft picks? Or could it be veterans, prospects, and draft picks? All the above. It could be anything. And he gives 3 scenarios. We'll go over that shortly. Also on hockeybuzz.com, Eklund putting it out there that hearing a lot of chatter tonight. This is getting interesting. Blues have always wanted to get Tkachuk, but New Jersey and Ottawa are already poking around more seriously. Again, ever since the Gaudreau incident, or how that transpired, I'm looking out for the blind side for that dark horse to come in at the 11th hour and do something, while Tom Fitzgerald is poking around or, kicking the tires is what he would say, on it. And it should get interesting. On a day that the Devils extended Vitek Vanacek 3 years, $3.4 million AAV, it's a risk, but it's not that bad of a risk. Devils finally get a goaltender that can challenge Mackenzie Blackwood. Also, with Matthew Tkachuk, what are the Calgary Flames looking for? They've only had Scotty of SiriusXM Liquid Mel and I, when we do Devils After Dark, we both concluded that Calgary didn't really have a plan B right away. Like, I think they were in such shock that they couldn't get done. I mean, they offered the moon to keep him there. And I thought Mike Commodore, former Devil, had some interesting points of why Johnny Gaudreau didn't stay in Calgary. I'm not going to go through that. That's a different topic for another day. But the Devils do have assets. Right now, they're kind of creeping up against the cap, but, that can all be adjusted. You could go over the cap, but there's a deadline to get under the cap. But the Devils do have some flexibility, but they're signing players right now. And one player that went to arbitration is Jesper Bratt. Another is Tyce Thompson. And you still have to sign players. But if Calgary, who now have some cap space, because that was earmarked for Johnny Gaudreau, there is some flexibility there. You could create a win-win situation for both Calgary and New Jersey and make this work. I don't know if Matthew Tkachuk has some say or where he's willing to go. I don't think he has that privilege to say that as a restricted free agent, but I'm sure the Calgary Flames are trying to accommodate, but the Devils could make a big offer. And just remember one thing. You know, there's all this speculation that Tkachuk, growing up in St. Louis when his dad was there, wants to go back home. Well, number one, they said that about Johnny Gaudreau, and how did that turn out? Number two, there was a guy that wanted to stay in St. Louis, but was kind of forced to go to New Jersey and didn't want to have anything to do with New Jersey at first, and that was Scott Stevens as a compensation for the Brendan Shanahan signing years ago with St. Louis. And I know New Jersey sometimes gets a bad rap, you know, being, which exit, you know, all the non-New Jerseyans that think they're funny, but they're not. New Jersey's a great place to live. It really is. You know, you're close to New York, you're close to Philadelphia, but you don't have to deal with that type of media market like you would in New York or in Toronto or Montreal. Kind of go under the radar, but at the same time, you know, you're playing in a metropolitan area is what they say. I'm seeing some of the offers that you armchair GMs are offering in the YouTube Live and Facebook Live and Twitter Live. John Sumner says offer Severson, Holtz, Johnson, 2023 first and 2024 first. I think that would get the deal done, to be honest with you, John. But I think that's just too much. That 2023 first is going to, that's a premium. And I don't think Calgary would accept a protected pick. I think they want it all. I think they want to rebuild now and get in front of the line. Just fold your cards. His brothers in Ottawa, they are loaded up and would have a lot to offer up as well. There's going to be competition, folks. You can't just throw your garbage at Calgary. They're not stupid. They want assets back. They want to make their team better. The franchise has been shell-shocked after all the COVID restrictions and dealing with COVID and bubbles and all that kind of stuff, and about to lose two of their marquee players in the franchise. You know Calgary wants a lot in return. Matter of fact, it's almost like you're going to be paying for not only Tkachuk, even though it's not related trade-wise, and them losing Gaudreau. They're going to shoot for the moon and get a lot in return and rebuild that franchise. And you better be prepared, Devils fans, if Tom Fitzgerald were to pull it off. If he were to pull it off, Fitzy, this would be one of the greatest trades and most important trades in Devils history. One of the most important trades in Devils history. Because what Tkachuk could do with Jack Hughes, it would be magical on ice. You bring a power forward that can open up the ice for Jack Hughes with his speed and vision and his skill level. That is crucial. That is crucial. And that first line would be dominating. Absolute dominate. With the second line of Nico Hischier or whoever. So let's go through some of these scenarios that Nick Villano of pucksandpitchforks.com brought up in his article. And I suggest you go there as well. Because, yeah, I'm going to be giving you some scenarios. But you should read the details of this because, you know, it's pretty well thought out. But one trade he had scenario for Matthew Tkachuk. Calgary would send Matthew Tkachuk. So the Devils get Tkachuk. And they would trade Jesper Bratt, 2023 first-round pick, and Chase Stillman. Now, remember, the 2023 NHL draft, that's going to be as deep of a draft since 2003, possibly. It's going to be a very deep draft with great prospects. So that first-round pick does hold a lot of weight. And, you know, that first scenario, I wouldn't say it's pound for pound Bratt and Tkachuk, but that's the best the Devils could possibly offer. But then again, the Devils already gave little brother Bratt a contract already, but they're in the middle of, you know, the arbitration, all that. I'm not sure that's going to work. I know a lot of fans like Jesper Bratt. I like Jesper Bratt for the very fact that I believe in continuity. He proved himself. But at the same time, you know, this is a business, unfortunately. And would this be a trade that Calgary would consider? Maybe, maybe not. But that's a good start. The other one that Nick Villano had, again, go to pucksandpitchforks.com. Matthew Tkachuk. Flames get Yegor Sharangovich, a 2023 first round and second round pick, a 2024 first round pick, and Alexander Holtz. You still keep Jesper Bratt. You keep Damon Severson, obviously. Would you do that? Would you make that trade? Very draft heavy, tremendous amount of assets. Sharangovich could possibly be potentially a 30-goal scorer. Tkachuk, obviously a 40-goal scorer. But that's a lot of assets to get Matthew Tkachuk, and you're kind of putting the spigot on that pipeline if you lose those draft picks, which is what the Devils have been stockpiling this entire time. But he's 24 years old, Matthew Tkachuk. 24 years old. Not even in his prime yet. And he can bring that physical presence to the front lines on the first line and help Jack Hughes. The other scenario, again, I'm going to warn you. I'm going to warn you, Devils fans. You're going to have to give up a lot. This last scenario, Matthew Tkachuk, Flames get Dawson Mercer, 2023 first round pick, Jesper Boquist, and Gritsik, young prospect. That's a lot. But Dawson Mercer just got the number 91, had to give up his jersey to Palat. And some of you have, like Ramona Rice. Hello, Ramona. Severson, Holtz, Wood, 2 first-round picks. That's pretty steep, but that's being realistic. Let me tell you something. When you do these trade scenarios, you see the stuff that's on Twitter, you're like, you got to be kidding me. Calgary's not that stupid. I mean, I guess after what happened with Edmonton Oilers, when Ray Shero basically fleeced the Oilers by getting Taylor Hall, essentially for Adam Larson, these things don't happen too often. Calgary's smarter than that. They've got some smart people in the room. They want some assets back. You're going to have to give up assets. And then also, you got to re-sign Tkachuk to an extension. That's what I was telling you folks about the salary cap. You still have to sign some of these young players that their contracts are expiring, like Jesper Bratt. We were actually up to the cap virtually without even knowing it, because when we first began, it was about 26, 27 million. We all wanted Palat. I thought Palat was a great signing. You still had to overpay. Then the trade of Ty Smith. I know a lot of Devils fans wanted Ty Smith out, weren't sure on him. I thought it was maybe a little premature, but you know what? Fitzy's looking to keep his job. The Devils need to make progress now. They just can't bet their jobs on Ty Smith turning it around, although I think he will in Pittsburgh. Getting John Marino, which, again, a little bit older, good skater. Not so sure if he's going to be an impactful player, but definitely an upgrade over Ty Smith's season last year. You would hope. Verge Tibbs says Sieves, Bratt, first, second prospect. Verge says cap space not enough money for Bratt and Tkachuk. Yeah, I would agree. Calgary's willing, not willing. Calgary does have some space to take some salary, but when you've got other teams offering, no, you can't do that. And I will say this though. Devils fans. I think Tom Fitzgerald, he's a competitive guy. I think he's going to put his best foot forward. He wants to deliver. And it will really re-energize this franchise if the Devils get Tkachuk in a blockbuster trade. It would. Jack Hughes, Matthew Tkachuk, whoever is left over, you don't know who's going to be traded on the other side. Wow, that's going to sell tickets. That's going to gain some respect. And Lindy Ruff is going to love having them on his team. He gets some beef up front. And I agree with, I think it's Eric. That is a great point. We have a lot of cash, but yes, Tkachuk has to cost us Bratt realistically. Ramona Rice says, answer my question, why it's always Bratt? Because he costs a lot of money, Ramona. Tkachuk is a big upgrade over Jesper Bratt. He is physical. He's got size. Proven 40-goal scorer. Jesper Bratt had one breakout season, which is commendable. I like Jesper Bratt as a player. But like I said, the price to get Matthew Tkachuk is very steep. But it has to be done. It has to be done. This is a player you mortgage the future on if you need to. because the age, the size, the pedigree, not afraid to take a hit and likes to dish it out, that's something the Devils need. And he's not in his prime yet. Great pedigree, like I said. And that's what you get back with Matthew Tkachuk. But you're going to have to pay a lot. You're going to have to pay a lot to Calgary. And they're going to ask for a lot. The Devils have a lot of players with a high potential. And they're young. And it's something they can build on. Phil Painter, YouTube Live, says this team is lacking one top six tough winger. Tkachuk is exactly what we need. Yeah, remember that guy in the draft that had size? Slavkovsky? How a lot of Devils fans want him. A lot of media members wanted him. But turns out Montreal drafted him. There's a need for Matthew Tkachuk. This is the time to offer big. And when you go to pucksandpitchforks.com and look at Nick Villano's article later, I hope you do. But he explains a lot of the details in his article, why, different scenarios of why you would make that trade. And then go read it. Great article. Well done. Well timed. Also, speaking of which, Nick and I are going live tomorrow at our usual time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, for the State of the Fan address presented by pucksandpitchforks.com. We'll have more on this. And just remember, this podcast has been entertaining the idea of Matthew Tkachuk for the last 2 months. Whether the rumors were true, whether they're not. But it's going to cost a lot for the Devils franchise. This is not something you can just buy your way out. It's going to cost assets. And it's going to take ownership involved. Because I'm sure Tom Fitzgerald would like to get the blessing to get this done. And I'm sure he already has. But this would make the Devils a serious team in the Metropolitan Division, which the competition is pretty tight, aside from the Flyers having their issues. The Rangers, coming off the Eastern Conference Finals, they're loaded. World-class goaltending across the river. Lose Islanders, well, they're going to be competitive. Last season, new arena opening, starting on the road, plus COVID, all that kind of stuff. I would expect a different performance and results from the New York Islanders. The BJs, the Blue Jackets, getting Johnny Gaudreau, trying to form that young nucleus with Patrick Laine. They got to get under the cap. They got to figure things out as they're re-signing players. Pittsburgh Penguins, they're always the Pittsburgh Penguins. The legacy players will probably live out their careers in Pittsburgh. Letang, Malkin, Crosby, and the rest. You don't have to worry about them. They'll be competitive. Washington Capitals, changing up the goaltending. Alexander Ovechkin trying to beat Wayne Gretzky's all-time record for most goals in NHL history. They will be competitive. Carolina Hurricanes. Well, they, made a couple trades, all that. Rod Brindamore, excellent coach. He was one of my favorite players growing up. His team reflects that. This is a very competitive Metropolitan division. You're going to need beef up front. Matthew Tkachuk is that beef. You need a power forward in the worst way, and you're going to have to give up a lot. If Matthew Tkachuk falls to another team's hands, well, maybe it was not meant to be. Plus, the Devils have salary coming off the books next season. Jonathan Bernier is right now on the long-term list. Tomas Tatar, his cap hit. Andreas Johnson, or Andreas Johnson, or as what we call him on the podcast, Andre Johnson. He comes off the books. Ryan Graves. I would like to re-sign Ryan Graves. But right now, the Devils are spending money. Are they spending it wisely? That's debatable. We won't know. But they're spending money. They're re-signing players. Phil Painter says that there are rumors that Calgary already declined a deal from St. Louis. Don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true either. I think there's a lot of hogwash talk with St. Louis and Calgary. Andy Strickland, I retweeted that out on the Let's Go Devils Twitter account. Somebody asked, about the trade, and he just simply said no. Andy Strickland's a highly reputable reporter, and he has credible sources. And he also said, I say we just sit back and let the Matthew Tkachuk situation with Calgary play out. Whatever happens, happens. And for you Devils fans, I'm going to coach you through it. You should do the same. Going through that drama of Johnny Gaudreau is already bad enough. Going through this drama, I know some of the players going Calgary's way, doesn't matter which team it is. Fans aren't going to be happy, but they're going to be very happy what's coming in. Matthew Tkachuk. Ramona Rice says, Palat costs too much money, but you need to build a winning culture. You need to bring in somebody that's been there, done that, has been part of an organization, and bring that experience and bring that knowledge to a franchise that's one of the youngest in the NHL. They need a mentor, a leader in that locker room, and you pay a premium for each cup Palat has won and almost won. Again, sometimes you need to overspend to get a lot to move the needle. They did that with Dougie Hamilton last season. We knew that the Devils overpaid, but you needed to get that prized free agent. It makes the Devils attractive for future free agents that would come to the franchise. Great point, but Eric, YouTube Live, lots of people on YouTube Live right now. Getting franchise players costs no matter what trading for Tkachuk will hurt a little. Of course it will. Of course it will. Look, like I said before, Calgary's not dumb. They got smart people in Calgary. They just couldn't get a deal done with Gaudreau, and now the dominoes are falling. But I also think that Tkachuk wanted out anyway and showcase his talents, putting up 40 goals. And he's, potentially a 100-point forward for the New Jersey Devils, especially if you put him on the line with Jack Hughes. Absolutely. And these are great offers that I'm seeing. I'm going to go to Facebook Live and see some of your offers. Benji says, I like the Yankees trade Severson. Matt Freudenberger, hello. We should meet up sometime. Berkeley Heights representing. Let's see. Calling in now, they'll offer Severson picks, which include a first rounder and Bratt or Holtz. Josh Hahn writes in the Facebook Live. Let me ask you, Facebook Live, who should the Devils offer? Let's go to Twitter Live. Has anybody offered anything on Twitter Live? At Let's Go Devils Pod. Again, it's at Let's Go Devils Pod. You can also follow me on Twitter as well, at Primetime Sam Wu. I lurk on there now. I'm starting to learn Twitter. Beer Baron's got me on Twitter. Beer Baron's been sending me tweets all day. Going to look at some of them. Going to read them off. Going through the group text right now. Oh, by the way, just to let you know, we put it out there. I want to thank you, the fans, that we put it out there yesterday that we're ranked number 22 of all hockey podcasts in the United States on Apple Podcasts. We just moved up a couple spots. We are actually number 18 today. Moving on up just because of fans like you. Listening to the podcast, the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network. Shows like the Woo Report, Let's Go Devils Podcast Sunday Edition. State of the Fan Address. Oh, Game Day Live and Devils After Dark. But thank you, fans, for listening and watching. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Channel is Let's Go Devils. Also, you could go to Facebook at Let's Go Devils Podcast. And let's see, YouTube. Oh, yeah, and Twitter Live at Let's Go Devils Pod, at Let's Go Devils Pod. Also, you can read my articles on pucksandpitchforks.com and hockeybuzz.com as well. Some of the things that were said today, like, Jordan Kiro, Torrey Krug, and a first for Matthew Tkachuk. And Calgary said no, but some say that never happened. But for sure, Tkachuk's going to be traded, but who? I hope you guys keep it here. We don't break the news. We talk about it. And we're very diligent on verifying this because there's a lot of garbage here. There's a lot of burner accounts. There's a lot of fake accounts trying to pump fake you into thinking that this team got who. And this was earlier today. Flame fans curious what the date will be for Matthew Tkachuk's arbitration case. Don't get too excited. There's a very good chance he'll be traded before then. Well laid out here by at Eric Francis. Thank you, John. He says, that's awesome, Sam. Congrats on moving on the list. Yep. Thank you. We can't do it without you fans listening in, watching, liking our stuff, commenting. We love the comments. Phil Painter said LGD. I love the chats. Let's see. Facebook here. Got some comments. A lot of sarcastic comments. I love the sarcasm online. It's funny, especially people from Jersey with their sarcasm. It always gets misconstrued as something else. Greg, YouTube Live says, would Severson, Holtz, and first, or Nemec and Holtz and first? No, Nemec is off limits. You've already got the fans emotionally invested in Nemec. I wouldn't do that. The Chessman on HockeyBuzz.com says Severson, Holtz, Mohamedulin, Johnson, and a high pick. Yeah, we haven't talked so much about Shakir Mohamedulin. Has been kind of like a worldwide mystery. Going back to the KHL, could he be put in the mix for Matthew Tkachuk? I think the only person that's really off limits at this point, his name, Jack Hughes. Everybody else, no offense, that's what it's going to take. Sam, what has Nemitz done? This is what he's done. He's a second overall pick. He signed his entry-level contract. He has proven he can play against men. And he's got great high potential. And you got to get him going, which he is. Nico Sam, which Nico? Nico Hischier or Nico Dawes? I don't know. Just seeing all these responses is just amazing. Trade Hamilton back to Calgary. Use the money to save $9 million to sign Seeds. Long term, Sam may change teams of what happened. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Dougie Hamilton's here for a while. He's got the size. He's got the beef. He's got the shot. Hischier, you would trade him? Question mark. No, I wouldn't trade. No. I didn't say that I would trade Nico Hischier. I don't know where that came from. Maybe I misspoke before. I was just reading your Michael B's comment before. But no. All right, well, going to conclude the Woo Report. Matt Freudenberger. Watching an MLB All-Star game, the Dodgers have the same organ as the Rangers, and it's killing me. You know what? You know what's going to kill me? It's if you don't have Matthew Tkachuk going against the New York Rangers. You need that beef. You need the beef. Calgary knows. And we shall see. News will break soon. Hopefully. I can't be dragged out for another week of this. I'm telling you. The Utica Comets for Tkachuk, formerly known as Getty 27. We need the beef, says Greg. Of course you need the beef. I love beef. I really do. I love beef. Beef is a good thing. A very good thing. Especially for this young team called the New Jersey Devils.
Hey, where's the beef?
It's Matthew Tkachuk.
Hey, where's the beef?
Right now he's in Calgary.
Hey, where's the beef?
You need the beef with Jack Hughes. And that's what we need. And I'm going to end on that note. We need the beef. We need the beef. And I hope Tom Fitzgerald will completely redeem himself by bringing Matthew Tkachuk to New Jersey. I want to thank all those watching, listening in. If you're watching on our social media pages, live, thank you. I hope this podcast ranks top 5. Matter of fact, I would hope that the Let's Go Devils podcast, now ranked number 18 in the top 25, would actually knock out Spittin' Chicklets off that number 1 spot just because they were taunting and teasing Devils fans about their interview with Johnny Gaudreau, how he spurned us, and they were kind of like, ha, 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 ha. I would just love to knock them out, just for that reason. Not for my ego, not to make the podcast number 1. No, I just want to knock them off that top. Because, I don't know. I like getting into Twitter wars, but it'd be a David versus Goliath scenario. Hopefully, Tom Fitzgerald gets done. Remember, go to pucksandpitchforks.com. Read up the editorial of Nick Villano, 3 trades that the Devils could offer for Matthew Tkachuk. I'll put it up right now on the video screen. There it is. 3 trades Devils could offer for Matthew Tkachuk. Pucksandpitchforks.com. Again, thank you. Stay a Fan address tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Watch out. You never know. There could be breaking news soon. Thank you to everybody. Till next time, this is the Woo Report. Let's go Devils.